Today we're gonna be reacting to Stephen Curry and his greatness. Curry's my daddy. Alright, let's get into it.
Steph Curry. He is the greatest shooter man has ever seen.
Steph Curry is now having the greatest single season any player has ever had.
He messed up the game in a good way.
How do you stop this? There is no way to stop it.
Left hand crossovers, fades and fires. Oh my goodness! Curry with another three. The Warriors have a 10-point lead.
I love Steph. He changed basketball. Steph Curry revolutionized the game of basketball.
Are you the best point guard ever? Yes.
Wardell Stephen Curry was born on.
Is he the best point guard ever? My opinion, Wardell Curry. You're the best. But let me know in the comments if you think that Curry is not the best or the best. Is the best or another player, Magic or something like that.
March 14th, 1988, in Akron, Ohio. His father, Del Curry, was playing on the Cleveland Cavaliers, but spent 10 years of his career on the Charlotte Hornets, so Steph spent most of his childhood in Charlotte, North Carolina. He grew up around the NBA, and that's where his dream of playing in the NBA started.
Never got into pitching. I liked it, but I was more interested in basketball at the time. I was kind of better at it, and try to make it to the pros if I had a chance.
He would watch his dad shoot threes over and over again, on TV and during practice. At the time, his father was one of the best shooters in the league, retiring from the NBA shooting over 40% from three, the Hornets' all-time leading scorer, and 25th on the all-time three-point made list.
That's what Del Curry has done, the all-time leading Charlotte Hornets scorer.
Del played an important role for Steph growing up. Not only was he a great father, but he's the reason Steph fell in love with the game of basketball.
I remember every game I went to, going to the gym to shoot before games, everywhere I go. Here's Steph Curry.
One thing about Steph Curry, he's just so inspirational. Like, I'm not just saying this to glaze on him or anything, but he's just so inspirational. Like, if you just watch him play, whenever he loses, he always comes back with some positive energy. All right, get back to the video. I'm gonna stop yapping.
Hey, Del Curry's son, right? I remember just on school nights, wish that I could go to the game. My mom would say, no, you can't go to the game on school nights because we're not going to get home till 11, 12. So when they had Friday or Saturday night games, that was like the biggest deal for us because we knew we were going to the game that night.
However, just wanting to be in the NBA wasn't enough. He may have been the son to one of the greatest shooters ever, but there was one thing he almost couldn't overcome.
Like when I was 9 or 10, I was always the smallest kid on my team. You know that scene as a young kid, you see looking around, everybody's got big arms, and you're like comparing yourself to them, and you're like, oh, I'm not there yet.
Not only was Steph the smallest kid on the court when he was 9, his size followed him all throughout junior high and high school. As a high school sophomore, he was only 5'6" and 125 pounds. And throughout his entire career, he has honored his dad by wearing number 30, except he couldn't do that in high school because the number 30 jersey was an XL. There was no way he could make that fit, so he had to settle for number 20. It took all the way until his senior year in high school to not be the shortest player on the floor and hit 6 feet tall. His whole life up until then, every shirt and jersey he put on made him look like he was wearing a dress. But being small is what shaped Steph's basketball career. Being the smallest kid on the court, he was forced to compete with people half his size. He was always practicing dribbling and shooting. Even in NBA arena, he was hitting threes from half court. When he entered 8th grade, he went to a small school in Toronto, Canada. There were only 200 students in the entire school, and the basketball team had to combine the 7th and 8th grade just to have enough players on the team. The coach said there wasn't really a tryout, but all you had to do was show up. And he even said the team was flat out terrible. But then came a kid who was barely 5'5" with shoes on. He was able to score 40 to 50 points with ease. The middle school team that could barely win a game went undefeated with Steph that year. The only close game was in the championship, and even back then, there was no way Steph was letting his team lose a game.
Stephen stopped me right in the middle of the speech, and he said, hey, we are not losing this game. And he just said, give me the ball, and we will win. So I said, okay, guys, you heard Steph. No more plays. If you happen to get your hands on the ball, just give it to Stephen and get out of the way. So the next minute...
That's probably why he's so inspirational. Yeah, that's so funny to me. He said, give me the ball. He's like Kobe. Kobe's like, hey, man, y'all suck. Give me the ball.
I couldn't believe what I saw. He scored 12 points in 1 minute, and we went from losing by 6 to winning by 6, and it was something that I will not forget to this day.
Steph was showing everyone he had a future in basketball, even though he was the smallest kid on the court. By the time he entered high school, he was forced to play on the JV team as a freshman, and after his best season yet, that next summer was the worst summer in his entire life. Because he was so small, he had to shoot the ball from his hip just to have enough strength to get there. It wasn't a problem in junior high or even at the JV level, but as competition was getting better, he had to make a change if he wanted to make it to the next level. And little did he know, this summer almost made him quit basketball.
For a month, I literally couldn't leave the paint because I couldn't get the strength to shoot it outside the paint with any
I'm so glad he didn't quit. I'm so glad.
kind of consistency. So that was what I did. I was a shooter. To not be able to shoot the way I wanted to was really frustrating, and kind of had to be patient with it.
After a month of being outside every single day and almost quitting the game he loved, Steph was finally able to shoot the ball above his head. And it was perfect timing, because this was also the year Steph finally hit his growth spurt his entire family has been waiting for. He went from 5'5" to 5'9" as a junior, and after lighting up high school basketball his senior year, he went all the way up to 6 foot as a senior. Steph led his high school to 3 conference titles and 3 state playoff appearances. He was named All-Conference and All-State, and during his senior year, he shot 48% from deep, and Steph ended up being the school's all-time leading scorer with over 1,400 points. Despite all this, Steph wasn't receiving any interest from colleges. My senior year of high school, I wasn't getting recruited as heavily as I thought I was supposed to. The waiting process of trying to get recruited was really stressful. It really nagged at me pretty much every day. Throughout his senior year of high school, Steph was only a 3-star prospect, ranked as the number 16 player in North Carolina, the number 60 point guard in the country, and ranked as the 300th best player in the nation. Even though he was the son of an NBA player and put up insane numbers in high school, no major college took him seriously because of his size. The only big college that wanted him was Virginia Tech, the same school his dad went to, but even they didn't offer him a scholarship.
How did you handle the disappointment of those bigger schools not coming after you?
I used it as motivation that summer before my senior year in high school to just play my game, and the right coach and the right college would come and make themselves known that they wanted me.
The only college that gave Steph a chance was Davidson, a small art school 20 minutes away from where he grew up. No major colleges wanted him, and he was ready to prove everyone wrong. But his college career didn't start off exactly how he wanted it.
His first game as a college player, he started against Eastern Michigan up in Ann Arbor, and in the first half, he had 9 turnovers. We're down 18 points at halftime. I'm rethinking whether he belongs to be in the starting line. Put him in the starting lineup in the second half. We won the game. Next night against Michigan, he dropped 32.
Steph continued to grow and get stronger. He wasn't known as a small kid anymore. By his sophomore year in college, he had grown to 6'3", and his game only got better. He averaged 25.9 points per game, and by the time March rolled around, it was time for Steph to show the entire world what he could do.
Tennessee in trouble.
Curry led the Wildcats to the 10th seed and went on a magical run to the Elite Eight, where they did the unthinkable by beating the 7th seed Gonzaga, dropping 40 points and 8 threes, scoring 30 and making 5 threes while knocking off 2nd seed Georgetown and putting in 33 and 6 threes against 3rd seed Wisconsin. Cap-out scoring at least 30 points 3 games in a row. His Cinderella run came to an end against 1st seed Kansas. Steph was must-see TV. Even LeBron had to see that show in person. Steph came back for a 3rd.
LeBron was there, bro. LeBron was there. No way. Curry's so inspirational for that, bro. LeBron even had to show up, bro.
Year at Davidson, he averaged 28.6 points per game and 5.6 assists per game, leading the NCAA in scoring and being a consensus first-team All-American. It was here in his 3rd year that he broke the school record for career points at Davidson with 2,635. And after these 3 years, it was finally time for Steph to enter the NBA draft.
With the 7th pick in the 2009 NBA draft, the Golden State Warriors select Stephen Curry from Davidson College.
Steph was drafted 7th overall in the 2009 NBA draft by the Golden State Warriors. Before coming into the NBA, his draft report said his athleticism and explosiveness were below standard. He wasn't a great finisher around the basket. He needs to improve as a ball handler, and that you couldn't rely on him to run your team. His best case scenario player comparison was Mike Bibby. His worst case scenario was he would have a career like Steve Kerr. But Steph came into his rookie year not worried about what scouts were saying. He averaged 17.5 points, 5.5 rebounds, and 5.9 assists per game. and came in second in the Rookie of the Year race, just behind Tyreek Evans. Steph was top 10 in three-point percentage and three-pointers made, giving the league a taste of his future of becoming the greatest shooter ever. But after showing the world a glimpse of what he could do, Steph almost became a what-if. After improving his numbers his second year in the NBA, it was after this season that Steph had to get surgery to repair his ankle, and this would be a massive story throughout the beginning of his NBA career. In the 2011 season, he would keep re-injuring the same ankle he had surgery on, and only played in 26 games. This had everyone questioning if Steph would ever be healthy again, or would he become another NBA what-if? And the Warriors had the same doubts about Steph. In 2012, in the middle of Steph's ankle problems, the Warriors had to make a choice. They wanted to get rid of one of their guards, Steph Curry or Monte Ellis. They had their eye on Andrew Bogut on the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yo, imagine they got rid of Steph Curry instead of what's his name? Bro. Oh my God, the era would be so different. There would be no Warriors versus Cleveland, no Boston versus Warriors, which boring. But damn, man, imagine they did that. What if they did that? Shit, let me stop yapping.
And the Warriors were willing to swap Steph for him. The only thing that stopped the trade was the Bucks' medical staff. They were concerned with Curry's ankles and didn't think it was a good idea to trade for him. So instead, the Warriors traded Monte Ellis. It happened at once for me. I remember exactly where we were. We were in Sacramento. It was the lockout year, so it was right at the trade deadline. We get in the locker room, and it's kind of a different energy. You know, around the trade deadline, it's always like that. But this was different. Now that Monte was gone, that gave Steph's new teammate a chance in a bigger role.
Back out to Thompson, another trade.
And it was Klay Thompson who would help Steph change the NBA forever. They became the Splash Bros, and Steph averaged 22.9 points and set an NBA single-season three-point record with 272. This was also his breakout year. Even with all the injuries and trade rumors, he also led the Warriors back to the playoffs for the first time since 2007. And this is when Steph really started changing the NBA. Since he entered the NBA in 2009, the average amount of threes teams would shoot per game was 16.9, and in just 3 years, it had risen to 18.4. It was after his breakout year and making the playoffs that the NBA started taking Steph and the Warriors more seriously. 2 years later, in 2014, the Warriors hired Steve Kerr to be their new coach. Steph and Klay were getting better every single year. They had their center, Andrew Bogut, and a new up-and-coming defensive weapon named Draymond Green. Steve Kerr gave Curry the keys to the offense, letting him have more freedom to search for his own shot, and that led to his best season yet, scoring a season-high 51 points, breaking his own record for threes made in a season, and winning MVP. He averaged 23.8 points, 7.7 assists, and 2 steals per game. He also made 281 threes this year, and everyone was noticing the Warriors and his success with all the threes they were taking. In just 3 years, the league average went from 18.4 threes per game to 22.4. The Warriors were the number 1 seed, winning 67 games, and they ran through everyone in the playoffs. When they met LeBron and the Cavs in the finals, they were playing without Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving, and by himself, LeBron stood no chance. The Warriors won in 6 games, their first championship in 40 years, and this was the start of their NBA dynasty. 2016 was the start of the greatest team of all time. Steph continued his league dominance, starting off with 118 points in the first 3 games of the season, and the Warriors started off with a 24-game win streak to begin the year. Steph shattered his three-point record again, having 402 by the end of the year, and increased his average to 30.1 points per game. And Steph continued to leave his mark on the NBA. In just 1 year, the league average for threes taken per game jumped up to 24.1. 2016 was also the year Steph became the first unanimous MVP. He won the scoring title, steals title, and led the league in free throw percentage. And the Warriors broke the record for the most regular season wins, ending their season going 73-9. There was almost nothing getting in the way of the Warriors winning the finals 2 years in a row.
State Warriors have handed the Cleveland Cavaliers their first loss at home in the postseason, and they take a commanding 3-1 lead.
Sweet.
Except one man, named LeBron James.
Oh, blocked by James! LeBron James with the rejection. Stutter steps. He launched a 3.
Bro, stop taking me back. Jump shot. Stop taking me back. You're taking me back way back to 2016. You're not getting in my head, bruh. You know that hurt me, bruh? Alright, let's get back to the video.
Hey!
After winning the first unanimous MVP and winning the most games ever, Steph Curry and the Warriors became the first team to ever blow a 3-1 lead in the finals. And in a must-win Game 7, Steph Curry only scored 17 points. The whole world was talking about the Warriors collapsing, but after just 18 days, more news would break the internet. After just blowing a 3-1 lead to the Warriors, Kevin Durant joined them. They created the greatest team of all time. The next 2 years in 2017 and 18, they ran through the entire NBA, meeting LeBron in the finals both years. But now with Kevin Durant, he stood no chance. With two of the greatest shooters to ever play, one of the greatest scorers ever, and one of the best defenders ever, the NBA stood no chance. Everyone was trying to be the next Warriors dynasty, drafting and signing shooters. The three-point league average went from 24.1 to 29 a game in just 2 years. Steph was the most popular player in the NBA, with the most jersey sales. Everyone was wearing his jersey. Warriors and Steph Curry had cracked the code, and everyone was taking notice. But it was different in 2019. After going through every team in the Western Conference, they finally had their chance at a ring without LeBron James. The only team standing in their way was the Toronto Raptors, and the Warriors were heavy favorites before the series started. By Game 4, Warriors found themselves down 3-1, and even though the Warriors came back and won Game 5 by 1, they lost their best player. So they went into Game 6 desperate for a win without KD. And not only did they lose, but Klay Thompson tore his ACL in just 2 games. It seemed like the Warriors' dynasty was over. The next season, Kevin Durant left. The Warriors had no Klay, and only 5 games into the year, Steph broke his right hand and missed the entire season. They finished with a 15-50 record, and that got them the second pick in the draft. The Warriors were finally at the bottom after being on the top for so long. The NBA was following in Steph's footsteps. Each team was taking 34.1 threes per game in the 2020 NBA season, over 5 more per game than just 2 years before. The Rockets just broke the record with most threes attempted in one game with 70, traded their center Clint Capella away, and started a 6'5" PJ Tucker at center. Pure three-point lineup. And this was just the beginning of how teams were trying to be like the Warriors. 2021 was the year the Warriors were supposed to go back to their past dominance. Steph's hand was all better. Klay was coming off his ACL injury, and the Warriors had tons of young talent. Everyone was ready for the new season, except Steph was going to have to do it by himself, because after coming off his ACL injury, Klay Thompson tore his Achilles. At 32 years old, without Klay Thompson, Steph put up one of his best seasons yet, averaging 32 points per game, and with not a lot of help from his teammates. The Warriors fell to 39-33 and barely made the play-in. They lost to the Lakers and then to the Grizzlies in OT, failing to make the playoffs for 2 years in a row. Steph, Klay, and Draymond were only getting older. Their window was closing, and the entire NBA knew it.
I don't see the Golden State Warriors bringing home another championship.
2022 was one of the worst seasons in Steph's career. He shot 42% from the field and 38% from 3, 2 of the worst percentages in his career. But everyone around him was stepping up, and they ended up with the 3rd seed in the playoffs, going 53-29. But it was during the playoffs when Steph really took over, starting off beating the Nuggets 4-1, who was missing Jamal Murray, then moving on to the Grizzlies, beating them 4-2, making it all the way to the Western Conference Finals, and destroying the Mavericks 4-1. For the first time since 2019, the Warriors and Steph Curry were back in the NBA Finals, and this time Steph was in charge. There was no argument on who was the best player on the Warriors. The finals matchup was against the Boston Celtics, and just like his entire life, Curry was an underdog. The Celtics were favored to win, but in just 6 games, Steph Curry silenced everyone, like he always has.
The 2022 Bill Russell NBA Finals MVP award goes to Stephen Curry.
This was his 4th ring and his first Finals MVP. Everyone counted the Warriors out, just like they counted out a 5'6" sophomore that only weighed 130 pounds. The same year they won the Finals was also the most threes attempted in 1 year. 35.2 threes attempted on average by every team in the league, most ever in NBA history in 1 year. When Steph entered the NBA, threes per game went from 18.1 all the way to 35.2. Average scoring per year went from 100 to 114.7. Steph became the all-time leader in threes made. He transformed the NBA to a threes-first league. This year, the Celtics led the league with the highest percentage of their shots coming from 3. 48.5% of all the shots they take come from the three-point line. And the team ranked dead last with the Pistons, where 33.4% of their shots come from 3. And just taking it back 10 years to 2013, when the three-point revolution was just starting, the team taking the most threes was the Houston Rockets. 35% of their shots came from 3. And the team dead last was the Grizzlies, who only took threes 18% of the time. The entire NBA saw the Warriors and Steph Curry dominate the entire league from 3. They saw Steph win the first unanimous MVP and change the way you're supposed to play defense. They saw him make the most threes in NBA history in 789 games, 511 fewer than than Ray Allen, who was supposed to be the greatest shooter ever. He did all this while shooting 42.8% from three his entire career, and having every team every single night try everything they could do to stop him. From a small kid who could barely get the ball to the hoop, to changing the NBA forever. And if you liked watching how Steph Curry changed the NBA, you'll love watching the most embarrassing records in NBA history. Go watch it right now.
Well, Curry changed the game in so many ways, but this video is over. See you guys later, but if you guys want to see my reactions, like and subscribe and comment what video you want me to react to. Peace.